There is something inside you that you can't explain, because it's not exactly fear, but it's not peace either. It feels like you are moving forward, but without knowing where you're actually going. And that bothers you. It makes you question everything. It makes you wonder if you're making the right decisions, or if you're just improvising your life day by day. Because deep down, you want a sign, a clear confirmation that you are not walking alone, that you are not wasting your time, that all of this actually makes sense. But what confuses you the most is the silence. No clear voice, no instant answers, no external sign telling you exactly what to do. And then doubt begins. You doubt yourself, you doubt the process, and sometimes you even doubt God. But here is something almost no one tells you. The fact that you feel this way is not a sign that you are lost. It's a sign that something inside you is being moved. And maybe, without realizing it, you are not off the path. You are being guided. You just haven't recognized it yet. And when you finally understand this, everything that feels confusing today will start to gain direction. And it is exactly there, in that moment when everything feels uncertain, that most people lose their way. Because when there are no clear answers, the mind starts filling the gaps with fear. You begin to imagine negative outcomes. You start thinking something is wrong. You assume that silence means abandonment. And without even realizing it, you begin to interpret the lack of clarity as a sign that you're doing something wrong. But what you don't see is that this moment of confusion is not a mistake in your path. It is part of the process, because there are seasons when God doesn't give explanations. Not because He is absent, but because He is working on something deeper, something that is not built through answers, but through trust. And that is what feels uncomfortable, because trusting without seeing goes against everything your mind wants. Your mind wants control. It wants certainty. It wants immediate clarity. But growth never comes from the comfort of control. It comes when you choose to move forward, even when you don't understand everything. And maybe what you feel today as uncertainty is not a lack of direction. It is the beginning of an internal transformation that you still don't know how to interpret. And this is where something happens that changes everything, but almost no one recognizes it in time. Because in the middle of that uncertainty, you make a mistake that seems small, but has a massive impact on your life. You try to force clarity. You try to make decisions from anxiety. You try to rush into what hasn't been revealed yet, as if thinking more would give you the answers you haven't received, as if worrying would speed up what is still in process. And without realizing it, you start moving from fear instead of direction. You begin making decisions to calm your mind, not to follow your path. And that's what pulls you away, because when you move from urgency, you lose the sensitivity to recognize what is right. You disconnect from what truly matters. And the most dangerous part is that you think you are progressing when you are actually just reacting. But here is the truth most people don't accept. Not everything that feels urgent is important, and not everything that feels confusing is wrong. Sometimes, the lack of clarity is not a sign to rush. It's a sign to slow down and learn to listen differently. Because guidance doesn't always shout. Many times, it whispers. And if you're rushing, you won't hear it. And this is where something begins to shift inside you, even if you still can't fully explain it. Because after so much doubt, so much rushing, so many attempts to understand everything, you start to notice something different. It's not a clear answer. It's not a visible sign. It's more subtle than that. It feels like an internal sense that despite everything, something is still in place. And that completely breaks the logic of your mind. Because your mind tells you that if you don't understand, if you don't have certainty, if you don't see immediate results, then something must be wrong. But that peace that appears without explanation doesn't come from logic. It comes from direction. Because when God is guiding your path, He doesn't always give you information, but many times He gives you peace. And that is a sign, a silent one, but incredibly powerful, because it doesn't depend on what's happening outside, but on what is being aligned inside you. And maybe What you've been waiting for as a big confirmation is already happening, just not in the way you expected, not as a voice telling you what to do, but as a peace holding you while you move forward without understanding everything. And it is in those small details, the ones that almost go unnoticed, where you begin to see something you didn't recognize before, because it's not about an immediate external change or an obvious sign that everyone can clearly see. It's something much more subtle than that. You start reacting differently, thinking differently, feeling a strange sense of calm in situations that used to overwhelm you. And that is not a coincidence, because when God is guiding your path, He doesn't always change your environment first. Many times, He changes you, and that internal shift is one of the clearest signs, even though it's often the most ignored, because most people are waiting for open doors, visible results, external confirmation. But true guidance begins within. It begins when you no longer react the same way, when you don't panic like before, when something inside you holds you steady even when everything outside feels unstable. And maybe you didn't notice it yet, but if you look closely, there are things in you that are no longer the same. There are thoughts that no longer control you. There are emotions that don't dominate you like before. And that is not random. It's direction, a quiet direction, but a firm one that is transforming your path from the inside out. And it is at this point when everything begins to take on a deeper meaning, even if you still don't have all the answers, because there is something you need to understand if you truly want to recognize God's direction in your life. The Bible says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." And this is not just a beautiful phrase, it is a direct instruction, because it tells you something that completely breaks human logic. That you don't need to understand everything to be on the right path. That you don't need full control for things to align. That you don't need total clarity to be guided. But you do need to trust. And that is the hardest part, because trusting when there is no visible evidence, when there are no guarantees, when there are no immediate answers, requires letting go of control. And that feels uncomfortable. But it is also where true transformation begins, because when you choose to trust, something shifts inside you. Your mind becomes quieter, your anxiety starts to lose its grip, and you begin to move forward, not from certainty, but from faith. And maybe this is what completely shifts your perspective, if you are willing to see it honestly, because all this time you have been waiting for a clear sign. Something external, something obvious, to feel certain that you are on the right path. But what if that's not how it works? What if the real sign is not something that appears outside, but something that is already happening inside you? Because think about it, if you were truly lost, you wouldn't feel this internal conflict. You wouldn't be questioning things. You wouldn't be searching for direction. You would simply continue without thinking, without depth, without awareness. But the fact that something inside you is not settling, the fact that you feel that discomfort, that search, that need to understand, is not weakness, it's sensitivity. It's a sign that something within you is awakening. And that changes everything, because maybe you are not being led away. Maybe you are being refined, prepared, shaped for something you cannot fully see yet. And if you start looking at this differently, you will begin to realize something powerful. Not everything that hurts is taking you off the path. Sometimes it is aligning you with it. And it is exactly here, when you begin to see things more clearly, that many people make another mistake without even realizing it. Because they feel this internal shift. They sense that something is happening, but they do nothing with it. They let it pass. They go back to their routine, back to the same distractions. And little by little, that sensitivity that started to awaken fades away again. And not because God stopped guiding, but because they stopped going deeper. Because direction is not something you just receive. It is something you cultivate, something you develop, something you strengthen with intention. And this is where everything can change for you, because it's not just about recognizing the signs, it's about learning how to walk with them, day by day, with awareness, with focus, with direction. And when you do that, you stop feeling lost, and you begin to live with a different kind of clarity, a clarity that doesn't depend on having all the answers, but on knowing that you are moving forward the right way. And there are paths that help you build this, not as an obligation, but as a guide for those who truly want to grow and understand this process more deeply. And if something inside you is resonating with all of this, it's not a coincidence, because this kind of understanding does not come to just anyone at any moment. It comes when you are ready to see beyond, to question, to go deeper. And if you've made it this far, it's because something inside you has already taken that step. But there is something important you need to understand. This is not the end. It is only the beginning, because recognizing that you are being guided is different from learning how to live in that direction every day. And most people stay exactly at this point. They feel, they understand, they relate, but they don't continue. And that's why they go back to confusion, back to doubt, back to feeling lost. Not because they went backwards, but because they didn't move forward enough. And if you truly want to break that cycle, you need to go one step further, because there is something else you need to see, something that will completely change the way you understand your path. And it connects directly to what you are living right now. So don't stop here. Go to the next episode, because what comes next might give you the clarity you are still looking for. And now, after everything you've heard, I want you to pause for a moment and be completely honest with yourself, because maybe what once felt like confusion doesn't feel the same anymore. Maybe what once seemed like chaos is starting to make sense. And that is not a coincidence, because when you understand this, you stop fighting the process and you start walking with it. You no longer need everything figured out to feel like you are moving forward. You no longer need immediate answers to trust your path, because now you see something you didn't before. God doesn't always show you everything, but He is always guiding you. And if this spoke to you, don't stay silent. Comment, "God is guiding my path," and let that declaration be a starting point for you. Because when you say it, when you acknowledge it, when you make it conscious, something shifts inside you. And if you want to go deeper into this process, there is something in the description that can guide you step by step, not as an obligation, but as a path. And remember, this is not the end. Go to the next episode and continue the journey.